Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Cathedral Check-in. My name is Donald Hunt and I'm the Director of Music here at Christchurch Cathedral. If you're new to this series, its purpose is found in its subtitle, which is called Behind the Glass Doors. We've been preparing these short interviews as a way of letting our community know what's going on inside the cathedral building, the office spaces, but also the ways in which we're managing to keep our ministry going during the pandemic. My guest today is Keith Ashton. Keith is a member of the parish choir here, an organ aficionado, and a keen long-distance runner. And at 81, this survivor of COVID-19 will run a half marathon this weekend and is raising funds for the team who cared for him while he was in hospital. Keith, thanks so much for joining me.
No problem, Donald. Happy to be here.
Great. Can you tell us a little bit about the Victoria Hospitals Foundation, about what its mission is, and in particular, what made you want to raise money for this charity?
It's the high acuity unit. It's a halfway house between being admitted to emergency and being put into the intensive care unit. When I was diagnosed with the COVID virus, I was taken into emergency, and there was some discussion as to whether I should be taken into the intensive care unit. The high acuity unit would have been the place that I would have gone if it had been ready for use at that particular moment in time, but we're going back about 12 months at the moment. The care I received at the Royal Jubilee Hospital from the nurses and all the workers there was absolutely wonderful, and the treatment that I received from the medical staff, the doctors and so on, it was absolutely excellent. So it gave me an idea that maybe I could do something that I was good at to help them. So it's just a way of giving something back to the staff in recognition of what they'd done for me.
That's great. And so the thing that you're giving back is you're raising funds for this charity by way of running a half marathon. And I'm wondering, what was it that made you decide to run a half marathon? Why not run a 5K or indeed a full marathon?
Well, actually, my initial aim was to run a full marathon. But on the 24th of November, I was running in the evening with one of my running buddies when suddenly I got one or two chest pains. She reacted very quickly, called the ambulance, and I got taken into emergency. This was getting beyond a joke. I'm 45 years, I'd never been in hospital, and then I'm in twice within 12 months. When I got into emergency, I was scheduled for an angiogram the following day. I would say unfortunately, but that's not quite true. My situation was not serious enough. So my procedure was put off and put off and put off. And eventually on the Monday, they said, right, we're going to take you in this afternoon. So that was what they did. My cardiologist, Dr. Iqbal, he was actually very good. He more or less told me, well, look, you would have recovered from this. You would have gone home. You would have had a good night's sleep. And in the morning, you probably wouldn't have thought very much more about it. But you would have been setting yourself up for something more serious down the line. So what I've done is to put in a couple of stents, and so long as you take things nice and easy, there is no reason why down the line you should not carry on with your running and carry on with your distances. My discharging physician, Dr. Kelly, looked at the plans I had, and I talked to her about them, and she said, look, you're probably not going to be able to prepare for a marathon in the time that you've got by the 1st of May. My recommendation is that you do a half marathon, run it at the 1st of May, and then we'll see what happens after that. In fact, it was only last week ago, Monday, that Dr. Iqbal phoned with the results of my stress test, and he gave me the all clear and said, so long as you don't push it too hard, then you probably will be able to run your marathon at some point down the way, but just don't run at it too hard. Excuse the pun.
Well, that's good to hear that you'll still be getting a marathon in your 80s.
Well, we're going to try hard, see what we do.
Tell us, I'm interested to know what it was like for you when you got out of hospital from COVID. What was it like for you to go for that first run again?
I was very tentative. You hear so much about what happens with this situation as time goes on, long COVID and so on. So when I first started, I was walking a block, run a block, walk a block, run a block, and then I was lengthening the length of time that I was running, and so on. And as my confidence grew, I began to run further and further. In fact, it was about the first time that I ran more than 5Ks, probably 6 or 7, and I was able to sustain that my confidence really came back. And yes, I think I'm going to be okay. I think I'm going to be able to do this. Again, when I'm running, I have a group of people to run with, and they are absolutely excellent, very supportive, very encouraging. And I managed to get to the point where I was able to run at weekends with the group, and we've just carried on from there. It shows you what you can do. We actually ran 30 kilometers on Sunday, so I'm hoping that will probably set me up to at least run the 21 this weekend.
That's great to hear. Your running club, your running mates, they've got a bit of a nickname for you, haven't they?
Yes, they have. They call me the rabbit. It comes from the Energizer Bunny, because the one thing they always have to do is to stop me getting out in front too early. I must admit, usually the first 2 or 3 days, I feel as though I'm running after an ambulance. But once that is over with, then if I'm not very, very careful, I tend to start stepping out too fast. So normally they will put 2 of the group out in front of me, and anytime they hear the pitter-patter of tiny footsteps behind them, they put out their hands and say, no, no, you're going too fast, you've got to cut it back. So that's where that comes from.
Pacing yourself is, of course, enormously important when you're doing long distance running. Otherwise, you'll get the bonk. And you've managed to pace yourself well in terms of raising money too. I was looking at the page recently, and I saw that you've brought in, I think, over $2,000 so far. What's your goal?
Well, we pulled a number out of the air at $8,000. At the moment, we're at just over 3,500, I think it is. So it is coming along quite nicely. We had an interview this morning with Czech News. That will be going out tonight on the broadcast. So I'm hoping down the line we will be able to raise quite a considerable sum to help the people with the high acuity unit. It's something really now that I've got my teeth into, and I really do want to help these people in recognition of what they've done for me.
So this video will be going out on Friday. Tell the people watching it how they can give to this important cause.
Well, it's a bit of a long thing, really. It's www.justgiving.com/Keith-Ashton1. And that's the page. There are a number of photographs there of our running a group all together, and various parts where we've stopped and so on. And that's the page that you can use to donate if you wish to do so.
That's great. And I will make sure that I put a link to that in the description of this video when we release it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining me to talk about this impressive endeavor, Keith. It's amazing what you're doing and what you're doing it for. So Keith is also known as the Rabbit. Keith Ashton is running a half marathon this weekend in support of Victoria Hospitals Foundation. There's still time to donate to this worthwhile cause through Keith's Just Giving page, which I'll post as a link. And in the meantime, stay safe, healthy, and happy. And good luck, Keith.
Thank you very much, Donald. Appreciate everyone's interest.